So this will be walking side to side, hip abduction strengthening. Two key things you want to think about is to lead with this heel instead of letting the knee fall in. You want to lead with the heel and keeping the knee in line with this outside ankle. And we don't want to ever let tension come off the band. So we're having a slight bend in the knee, leading with the heel, keeping the knee pointed outwards as we walk towards the side. And you should feel this being pulled kind of from the glute area. So this will be the monster walk. You're going to have a slight bend forward, slight bend in the knees, keeping tension in the band as well, without letting the spine kind of wiggle anyway. We're keeping all this stable. We're just going to kind of walk forwards, keeping the slight bend and tension in the band the whole time, and then walking backwards. So this will be the bird dog. Main thing we want to focus on here is keeping the core and our whole trunk stable, not letting our spine go into any extension or flexion as we do the movement. So we're going to be on all fours. We're going to be raising opposite arm and opposite leg, keeping this engaged and only moving at our shoulder and our hip. All right, so this is going to be the glute bridge with the band. So the band is here to help you think about driving your knees outwards and not letting them collapse in. So this kind of just gives you a little bit of resistance and feedback to feel that. You're going to lay on your back. We want to think about engaging the core by doing kind of a pelvic tilt, so pushing the spine towards the ground or into the ground and tucking the pelvis under. And then we're going to raise our hips straight up towards the ceiling by pushing through our heels and keeping our knees pointed outwards into the band. This is going to be a stretch for our iliopsoas, so our main hip flexor muscle. That muscle attaches up into the spine and down into the middle of the thigh, femur bone. So we want to think about bringing these 2 points away from each other. A lot of times people will lean forwards like this and arch the back, which actually is kind of doing more of a seesaw motion instead of tensioning both ends of the muscle. So we want to think about tucking the pelvis, squeezing the glute, and driving our hips straight forwards instead of letting this happen, because then you really won't feel the stretch. But as soon as you engage here, you'll feel a really nice deep stretch right as the hip flexor passes through the front of the hip. And then we just hold this here. Really remember to squeeze the glute as you do this. It makes a very big difference. And you don't have to move very far, clearly. Okay. So this will be our quad stretch. This is a little exaggerated, but you can put your foot up onto the back of a chair or on the couch or anything that you can basically elevate this to kind of lock out the quad here. And the biggest key to feeling this in the correct one we're aiming for, our rectus femoris right up here, is to not have our hip flexed. So we want to think about tucking the pelvis, keeping this upright, and leaning back into the stretch, and you'll feel it into the main quad muscle that works on kind of pulling the pelvis forward. So we want to basically do the opposite of that. And leaning back into it here.